Kilgen.
Running fast from the way it was. Jump quick to a paycheck. Running back to the strip club. I'm never going back, never going back. No, you can't make me. Never going back, never going back. They never take me. I paid enough for petty dudes. I put enough for petty news. I had a thing for dirty shoes since I was 10. Love dirty men are like, ooh, better today than cash today. Ooh, I just take it day by day. Nothing but love for you. Nothing but love. Nothing but love.
Hello, 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 hello. How is everybody doing? Not it being 50 people here already. Let me find out y'all want to talk. Let me find out you guys want to talk. Thank you so much for being here. Like, I'm excited and I'm nervous all at the same time. I think this is probably the heaviest subject matter that we have ever had on a live. But you know, something deep down made me feel like, I was like, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. Shout out to everybody in the chat. If this has ruined your childhood just a little, it's a little tainted, and you know, you feel a little bad for Nickelodeon and everything, Dan Schneider, hit the like button, because I'm sure a whole lot of us feel one in the same. I have some wonderful guests backstage, and I just cannot wait. I want to hear what they have to say, because sometimes you watch something and it's just like, is it just me reading this much into this, or this was a hard watch. This was a hard watch, but I think it was absolutely necessary to see stuff in the forefront that I feel like we've all known about. And it's just kind of being an open secret. So I don't know why this was so surprising, but it was informative and surprising all at the same time. But let me say what's up to a couple of you guys. Once again, this is a heavy situation. If you want your comments seen and read, please make sure the wording is proper. I'll say that, and just be careful. Show your girls some love, as well as my guests backstage, because you know they have a tendency to lay a copyright or unsuitable yellow mark on every single one of my videos. This one probably more than others. So be sure to show me some love in the chat if you can. Let me see who is here. Sin's Corner is in the house, and she said, "Oh boy." Yeah, right, Sin? Absolutely, Sin. Absolutely. This is an old boy situation. Hello, Tony T. Thank you so much for being here. I see TG is in the house. Salt and Pepper Review. You went all the way down for that one. That's a early review. Thank you so much for being here, TG. I see Nicole is in the house. Hello. Fatima is here. This ruined my childhood. Thanks for the review. Hopefully, we can all make sense of it here. Let me get one more here. Let's see. Oh, Bree is in the building. I'm gonna start off with my heart truly goes out to the kids who were mentally/physically abused while trying to do what they love. My childhood is a little tainted after watching this documentary. We are pretty much one in the same. Let me go ahead and bring out my first guest. You know him, you love him, you have seen him here plenty of times at this point. Welcome to the stage, Mr. D Movie Man. Hello, D. How are you doing? Thank you for being here.
Hey, Tyra, I am doing great. Thank you for having me as well. And all I can say is we're gonna get through it.
Right? I'm so like, I'm never like nervous in such a way to talk about anything. Like this is just so many vulnerability came along with this doc among, so many other things. But yes, we will be getting through it. And it won't just be you and I, because of course I have another guest backstage. You loved her here for the Changeling Child. It was a Kiki. I will forever love Kay for the Changeling Live because I had the best time I've ever had on a live. Like, oh my goodness. Welcome to the stage, Kay. Hello, Kay. Horror and Hooch podcast in the house. How are you doing?
Yes, doing all right. I watched this documentary and the therapist in me was just floored. So I'm ready to get into this because my poor childhood.
It's crazy. Like I wanted to have a panel of, because I was thinking about age. I think all of us are around that little circle of just really being there when the things that are in this documentary was at its most popping. Like I can remember watching all of these shows and just the feeling of always wanting to, like, I think everybody had their era of, I wonder what it would be like to be a child star. I can run some lines. I can do that. I think I'm built for that. Like it just looks so amazing to do something like this was, SNL for kids. They got to have fun and go crazy and do whatever they wanted to do pretty much for money. It just looks really, really appealing. So anytime you see the curtain pull back away from that, it's just like, oh no. But getting into some of those shows, I guess maybe starting with you, D, like what does something like all that, I don't know which, quite what era you were in. I tried to put as many of them here as I could, but what does something like a Nickelodeon mean to you?
Oh man, Nickelodeon is like all the things, which also includes Nick Jr. because that was also my jam as well. But when I think about Nickelodeon, I think about My Brother and Me, which is an underrated one. I think that flies under the radar. Rugrats, Doug, definitely all that. Kenan and Kel, the Amanda Bynes show. What is it? The Secret World of Alex Mack. Yeah, like Legends of the Hidden Temple, like all of the like really early.
Oh, you going back?
Yeah. Are You Afraid of the Dark? I was here for all of it. Yes.
Oh man, what about you, Kay? What were some of your favorite shows here? Because this is just the Dan Schneider bubble. There were so many shows, but I can't help but watch this and not feel like Nickelodeon is tainted as a whole because it runs all the way up to the top.
Correct. I was a Nick kid. I was. I mean, from Doug, Rugrats, Kenan and Kel, all that. Like you said, Secret World of Alex Mack, The Amanda Show. Of course, as a horror person, I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? Of course, My Brother and Me. Nick Jr., Gullah Gullah Island, Blue's Clues. When I tell you.
Don't make me start singing, Kay.
Come on. Look. When I tell you I was a Nick kid, I mean all through Nickelodeon. So when I seen this, I said, "Oh no, I gotta watch this."
See, now it's just on my heart. Come and we'll be together in the bright stormy weather. Let's all go to
Gullah. See, y'all know, my guy.
Yeah, I think watching those things. I never realized, you're a kid, you're not watching the credits and who. I didn't know Dan Schneider was behind all of these shows. I really didn't have any clue up until really low key watching this doc. I knew maybe about the earlier things, but it just trickled down so far to pretty much the things that are on Nick Jr. still now to this day that maybe my son and my nephew are watching. I was like, his presence is still there and still very felt. But I just would love to just jump into what this is based on, because I feel like it's only right to start here with, the man behind the camera. Dissecting Dan Schneider. We got pretty clear in here, not only that he was able to do these things because he was the network golden boy, but we could be sexist, we're a tyrant, humiliator, manipulator, fetishizing these children. And on the other side, we're, giving and happy in this playful man child who is producing and creating all of these great things. Kay, I'm gonna start with you. What did you take away from Dan Schneider just as a person?
It's like the name that you would always see on the credits of your favorite Nick show. And he even made a guest appearance in Good Burger, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
in that burger bag.
Correct. So we're thinking this is this great creative person giving us all this good TV. And then when they pull the curtain back, it's like, why would you? In my mind, I'm thinking about the parents. Why are y'all letting this man talk to y'all children this way? Or work y'all children like this? Like, ignore child labor laws. Why are y'all letting this man treat your child in this manner?
I think
he don't look. I mean, in my mind, like, you don't really look threatening. Like it looked like somebody that you can easily cuss out without a shadow of a doubt. Like why? I'm like, how was his presence that these parents were just like, whatever he says goes?
I think that was the thing that upset me the most, because and I know you're a parent as well. Just that feeling of, I would never. It shows a lot about people just relinquishing all common sense just for the thought at, some success and some celebrity, and for their child to maybe move up on the ladder with, one of these shows. I was just really surprised at, not that this would be allowed, but just the fact that it was allowed for as long as it was. Because we were knocking on, over 20 years of him conducting business the exact same way and going unchecked. I was like, dang. But Dee, what did you take away from this and just Dan Schneider as a whole?
I think what I took away is just how little the world and society, and especially industries, when it comes to Hollywood, how little that changes over time. Because I have a lot of awareness about, the studio systems back in, like, we're talking about 30s, 40s, 50s, and the kind of control that they used to place upon
Shirley Temple.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, their stars, including MGM. Shirley Temple herself. There were two different situations where I believe it was one of the producers. She came in thinking, we're having a meeting about some kind of film she's got to do, and then he exposes himself to her, and because she's so young, like, she was so thrown out, she just started laughing, and he got angry, and then just like threw her out of his office. And then I believe there was another situation where David O. Selznick, which I believe was one of the producers for Gone with the Wind, he actually, he kind of made advances towards her. And then when she got up to leave, he had a button in his desk that actually shut, like locked the door. And she said, were it not for the fact that she was so athletic and that she literally ran until he was like tired and passed out. Otherwise, she would have been on the receiving end of his advances. I can only put it that way. But we're talking like, 1940s, 1950s. And it's just one of those things that you have to realize that it's kind of it's just kind of the same system, and just the people change, the players change, but the game is still the same, so to speak. It's like, in a way, I'm not surprised. And like I said, the only thing that surprises me is how little the world changes, and how, even though all of these children should have, and of course for us watching this looking like the most ideal place to be. I remember Nickelodeon Studios and Orlando, Florida, what they would show at the end and what that kind of represented to me. And just to know that on the receiving end of it, these children, I should say, I want to emphasize the fact that they were, yes, people, but also children, especially were being subjected to this. It's heartbreaking, but I hate to say it, that it's in a way, it's really not surprising.
I just was like, not even just in within presenting him in the doc, it just seemed like he wasn't, like they said, he wasn't expected to achieve much. He wasn't, that dude, and his parents didn't expect a whole lot of him. Like, he was the underdog, and not only that, but he was a heavier set man. He got, this groundbreaking role on, I think, was it Head of the Class, and even there, he was still in those spaces, just considered the overweight guy, the fat guy, the butt of every joke. So it just seemed like once he actually got some power, he took it and he ran with it in the worst way, and really didn't know how to really conduct himself or what to do with himself. Or it's just really scary to know that this could be in place and nobody did anything like that. That's just what irks me, because I hate that. And I've been seeing some stuff where I try not to watch a whole lot of reviews on any of this, but a lot of people are kind of trying to absolve Dan of any responsibility for anything. Like, well, in comparison to all the other people in the doc, like, did he really do, like, was it really that bad? He really, like, he didn't physically, touch it. Well, from what we know in this doc, he didn't do that. He didn't go that far. So should we really just penalize him for, a couple of jokes and a few skits and making some kids feel, uncomfortable? Was it really that bad? It's absolutely that damn bad. I'm really shocked to see that a lot of people are just kind of writing Dan off. I've seen people say that they are using his name just to sell this documentary, when it's really about Brian Peck and the other, guy here in it. And this really has nothing to do with him. Like, why would y'all put his name on this? That is surprising the hell out of me. that is really, really shocking to me. And you just maybe expect more. And it's like, people really are never going to wake up to how absolutely not okay any of this was. For a Dan Schneider to happen, it's everybody. It's always a collective. There isn't just one people. Like, for him to operate in the way that he was for that long, everybody knew what was going on. Nobody did anything because nobody cared to. But moving on from this, because it's just so much. I literally, like, didn't really even know where to start with my slides or what I wanted to focus on. And if you guys want to chime in with some things you saw, that is fine. But I just have here sexual innuendos, body image, puberty, unhealthy relationships with children, Dan's disturbing unchecked start. This was I haven't watched all that in years. That's just not something that I go back to. So just really to discover firsthand how many things were just put in there for laughter, it was really disturbing to me. Kay, what was the thing here as far as what Dan was able to put into these shows that you were like, that y'all really let him put that in there, and you thought it was okay? Like, what was the most shocking thing to you here?
Not so much as maybe the content that we seen, but the mistreatment of the cast members. Like, I think it was like Katrina that they replaced her with Amanda, and the gentleman, I want to say, what is his name? His last name was Hearne. The black boy, that guy who just felt the inherent racism.
The young man who had the peanut butter smeared on his body.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like, you can't, when you can tell when, like, cast members switch up growing up and you just never knew why.
Yeah.
But, like, thinking about now, like, the reasons why they got pulled from the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like how Katrina was saying, they pulled her because she started to look like an adult.
Yeah.
Simply, she was a teen, but her, because of her shape, she wasn't. Or, they pulled the black boy from the show because his mom actually was speaking up. And just thinking, like, replacing these cast members for, like, because of Dan, because he didn't like that she didn't look in his image of a child, or he didn't like that this boy's mom was not going to be compliant with all of his ridiculous rules and stuff. It almost like makes you sad that they weren't treated fairly because of what he said or how he felt.
I think for me, it wasn't so much the explicit innuendos, because it's just common sense. I even see him doing
Yeah,
kind of clean
Brian
up now.
Christopher Hearne. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, saying like, oh, it was like it. I don't even want to give him any any sauce right now because it's like really try that with somebody else. You clearly knew what you were doing. You thought it was funny, and it doesn't make a difference now if you try to clean it up. For me, it was I felt like the relationship he had with her was so unhealthy. It's so many pictures of him just too close for comfort with these children for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like the sitting on the lap, the alone time, the I'm with Dan, we're in the office and he's telling me like I'm the golden girl and I'm gonna that I was screaming like, where's your mom? Where is anybody? Like where you just think that, when you have these sets there are certain protocols of, like, oh, the parents, because you think like, oh, God,
you would think.
you're like, if my baby gets a moment, I'm going to be there. And it's just like they relinquish, like it was a whole sense of, I don't want to mess up my child's opportunity. So whatever they say goes. If they say we all need to leave and disappear and leave them alone with our children for hours, we're just going to do that. Like, I just really don't understand that concept, but just how close he was to her. And it just really made me uncomfortable to where I couldn't resolve him, even not as if it's any better with all the other things that he did with the toxic work environment, etc., with those women that we are going to get to. That's to the side. Like the relationship he had with these children, especially these young girls, like it just made me so uncomfortable. And I couldn't just say like, oh, this was all a pure action. It did not come off as pure to me at all. And I just felt like it was disgusting. What about you, D?
So I'm gonna, I'm good with my references and my comparisons and my examples. But if anyone has seen It Chapter 2, there's a scene there where there was a young girl at a baseball game and she gets distracted by this fire, this little firefly. She goes under under the bleachers, and then of course that's where she sees Pennywise. And what I found, because of course the second film was fine, but it was kind of a letdown for me because their idea of horror and CGI and all that kind of stuff, it was just like, they kind of lost it a little bit. But the one thing I said is that when I say best, the most effective scene in that film was that scene when she goes underneath those bleachers and she talks to Pennywise, because in that moment, what he says to her as far as, the fact that he's ugly because she has the scar on her face, and the fact that, how he, basically he's reaching kind of inside of her, her mind and her insecurities and trying to relate. And she genuinely believes that if, by trusting this clown, that he'll remove this thing from her and, her problems will be solved. And that becomes her demise. And what made it so effective is, it's already creepy anyway, but it's just the subliminal messaging there and what they're really saying about what Pennywise represents. And that's kind of the same thing with me. Like there are the things that, and when we say subliminal, as far as the things depicted on the show, we can obviously see it for what it is now. But like you said, I think the grooming outside of just what they were, made to do on camera, I think that is the most, and that's why I was making the comparison. That's the more insidious thing, because children, our brains are not fully developed, and so it's very easy to make us believe things or see things as far as the world and other people, and we don't know. We know what our parents tell us, but it's very easy for someone to just come in and like, okay, well, let's rewire this a little bit, and that's what I find even more frightening, is to know that someone, and we see that even with Drake and the relationships that were established there, and worming your way into someone's life. It's just,
Oh, y'all, let me get these super chats. No, I didn't like the name Drake now, just like gives me the heart palpitations. Thank you so much, the fundraiser, for the $5 super chat. Did you see the cast of Ned's Declassified laugh at Drake's Bell story? Absolutely not. But that's, first of all, I used to love Ned's Declassified and Cookie. That was my show. That's really tragic, and I really hate that. Did you guys see or hear anything about this?
No, I wasn't aware.
If that is occurring, like, that's really sad, but I can honestly say I'm not surprised. Towards the end, I do have a slide for that, but you can clearly see A few of the ex-cast members are people who are in a bit of an area of prominence where these are kind of the child stars that were left behind and went on to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a divide. There's clearly a split and people are choosing sides. So I'm not surprised at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely sad. Thank you so much, the fundraiser for that $5 super chat. Let's see. Thank you. Let's see. I think some parents put the fame before the safety of their children, living vicariously through them. Child, we're gonna get into that with MJ and Brandy. Because when I tell you that those names the names are sticking with me with those two in the doc, the mother-daughter combo with the extra.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you who a lot of these cast members are because sadly, you remember the people that you see. Like I know Lydia Gutman. I know Lydia. Like I know I know Lydia Liza Gutman, and certainly the Keenan and Kells. But these are sadly people. When I see them, like I had to really place their faces. But those two people there, I remembered them right off the bat because I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am," but let me keep going. Thank you guys so much for those super chats. I really, really appreciate it. But getting here into this, kind of leaving the children for a little bit and all the innuendos and what they were made to get into, because we're going to get into the children of color of all of that, because, excuse me, the tale of splitting one's salary and opportunity, toxic work environment, massages, humiliation rituals, abuse of power, etc. Was this naivete, stupidity, or advancement aspirations? Now, these two ladies here... I think it's really easy to be on the outside looking in, saying what you would never do. And I try not to victim shame or place any blame on anybody, but I was livid. I was really livid with their story because it goes to show how limited, because they were very verbal about how limited the opportunities were even now for women. So if you think about back then, for them to even be hired as writers, it was a big thing for them to maybe feel like they would want to subject themselves to certain things just to have that job. But I was like, oh my God, if y'all don't get the hell out of there, like how far are you going to let this go, or let this sadistic man push you before you get the hell out of here? I was just really, really getting so mad. But Kay, what did you take away from these ladies' stories? And really when it comes to Dan, because he had his the little innuendos, little cheeky things, and it just, with the children, that was problematic enough in those unhealthy relationships. But it seems like here with these women and the sexism and the workplace politics and, opting for the men and the women, and when I'll leave it at this. When the young lady, it says her name is Christy, when she said the story about her, he wanting her to tell a story about her, blah, 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 and imitate this on the table in front of everybody, like in an audience, that pissed me off. I was just really, really disturbed there. But what would you like to share on these women and what you thought about what they had to go through and how long they went through it?
That was my thing right there, because as they kept talking, and I was in my mind saying, when is enough? Like, y'all keep going through this because it's giving Devil Wears Prada on 10, and y'all just keep taking it and taking it and taking it, and it's like, when is enough? And I understand people be having bills due, and they, Dan has a lot of power in the industry, but sometimes if it's a person that it bothers them, obviously your character is going to matter more. Some people will do it and without a shadow of a doubt. Clearly, he had all the staff working around him, and they're fine with it. But they were bothered with it, and it's like, is really the fame of it all worth your self-respect and your inner peace and your own personal values? Because I'm like, it's like he just kept pushing at them and not wanting to pay them, and then giving their jobs to men, and not even or using another person to talk to them because he don't want to talk to them directly. It's just like
emailing them to say, yell out, you're an idiot or you're stupid or you're derogatory term. I was like, what is going on?
I'm like, y'all Karens, y'all didn't report him to the Better Business Bureau. Come on, where was y'all called? Y'all was supposed to have this in place after the second strike, and he had to get to like strike 25 before y'all said something. Why? I'm in my mind, I'm like, what kind of presence and energy did he bring that I feel like there was some sort of fear that was around the set
Not
that he had. I'm really wondering of what kind of energy did he bring that he had all of these people
in
in
fear.
this toxic bubble for so long.
What pissed me off was because a lot of people, when they subject themselves to certain things, it's oh, well, where am I ever going to find another job like this, or this is financially like the I think she mentioned like he placed a bet, oh, if you massage me, I'll give you 300. Like clearly money was scarce. It just didn't feel like there was any incentive to stay here with this for so long.
And he didn't even
What
give her
about
the money.
yeah, no, I got upset when she yelled, "A woman to add it to your tab." D, what about you? What did you take away from the tale of splitting one salary?
All I'll say is that big things have small beginnings, and so when it comes to, I guess that I can't. I mean, the only word I can think of is dehumanization. It doesn't begin with I guess overt, obvious, explicit things. It begins with something as simple as saying like, "Hey, can I just call y'all the girls?"
Oh,
And it's just like, like, okay, no identity, y'all are just the girls, not even women, the girls. And it just became like this snowball effect. It becomes this, you say, I'm not going to do that. And then it's like, okay. And it's kind of like this, in a way, and granted, these are adult women, so it's not nearly the same thing, but it's almost like this thing where it's just like you kind of become comfortable with this. You're not really comfortable with it. It's like, I'll shrug it off. And that whole thing that some of us do or we and shouldn't do, and I'm not talking about even extremes like this, where we second guess ourselves or we don't go with our instincts. My mom says that all the time. There's so many things that she knows, like, I should have gone with my first mind on that. And we allow ourselves to give people the benefit of the doubt, and we say like, well, maybe this or but this. And really, when it comes to our intuition and the thing, whether it's spiritual, whether it's just the gut or whatever, but those things are there for a reason, regardless of what you believe that to be. And it was the reality. And I'm not going to what's the word? I'm not going to dismiss the fact that, the reality of women in that industry and what that would mean. And I understand that. And because I get it. But it's kind of one of those things where it's unfortunate that they couldn't recognize the environment for what it was. Rather than leave and just continue on in that. Like even something, and like the same thing with ice cream. It's like to some folks it'd be like a prank, like, oh, I like ice cream, I bet I can, like some kind of like, oh, let's take down the ice cream, and then he doesn't give you the money, and then it just, and you just become comfortable with all that. And I just think that was the wildest thing to me, just the fact that it began in such a such a small kind of like, this little thing here, this little thing here. And
pushing those boundaries. Oh, what else can I do? What else are they going to allow me to do, to the point that you are on an office table? Or I think she said her breaking point was her having to give her pitch in a room full of men. And he was trying to, just, can you mix it? This is a very sick person. And I didn't understand how we weren't recognizing just how sick he was. And we were writing everything off. It's just a joke. Like there was nothing funny about any of this. And it's just, you can see how easy it is to create that type of environment when clearly he's doing these things around other people, other men. Nobody's checking him. Nobody's saying anything. It's just like, oh, this is what it is. This is the Dan Schneider show. And it just continues on. And I just wish these ladies would have got out sooner. And I had to check myself because I was really getting upset with them. I was getting pissed. Like, girl, I was waiting. Like, okay, so this was the moment that you like get your ish and get out. This was the moment where you grabbed your stuff and you ran for the hills. It's like, no, and it just kept going and going and going. It was like, well, it just goes to show, just like with the kids and the fame and what those parents are willing to maybe side eye and maybe subject their children to, these women are doing the exact same thing with their own person just to maybe have a half of a salary. Hell, man, you better find a different job. Let me read the super chat. Thank you, the fundraiser, for the $2 super chat. I'm waiting for the Disney Channel documentary. Child, you ain't never getting that. Disney would never. You guys think we ever get a Disney Channel documentary? Because that one would be thick. Anybody?
If we get a Disney Channel documentary, then we're gonna have to have China McClain on there, because she been blackballed because she started to kind of fall back from the industry. and say some things. So it can't be done without China, and it can't be done without Orlando. That's all I'm saying. If we ain't putting them in it, then don't even do it.
With these things, you can't help but think of all of them, like, because you've seen everybody just go from this prominence as a child star to where it's just like, what happened? And I hate the fact that this is so normalized to the point that when we see someone like Orlando Brown or the decline of an Amanda Bynes, we automatically go, oh, they've been touched. Like they did something to them kids. Like we just know. But people go on in this industry and sign up to have their kids in this industry just like it's like it's not an open secret. Everybody knows at this point. Like I think it's not a question of did something happen to Orlando. It's just like, okay, what did y'all do to Orlando Brown for him to be in this state? And that's sad. Thank you so much, Dane, for the $2 super chat. Salute my soul sister Tyra and panel. Thank you so much, Dane. You know I appreciate you. Anything else to share on these two ladies?
Because I'm just like, what in the job of white women y'all didn't report him to? I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that Disney Channel. That's a whole lot to unpack, child. I don't think they will pull back the curtain on any of that. But getting here, let's see. Parents weren't really allowed around. Did these people owe the children anything? Dan started to change the mood on the set. Now we have a lot of adults, maybe directors, people who are writers, editors, costume designers, and whatnot here, speaking on not only what they went through, but the way that Dan was moving, the way that the set was shifting with the parents, and they're never going to be absolved of any responsibility because your ass should have been there with your children. Exactly. Do you guys, because I know a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you guys say anything? Why didn't y'all do something? Why didn't y'all help these children? Kay, do you feel like the adults that were a part, I don't care if you the mic and the grip, the whoever on the set, all those odd jobs around, do you feel like they owed these children anything?
Hell yes. And just simply because being a therapist, I'm a mandated reporter. And the thing is, in any position where you work around children, you're supposed to be a mandated reporter, which means if you see any signs of abuse or neglect or anything that would seem like it would be an impact on the child, you're supposed to report that. And y'all seen this stuff happening. Everybody like, oh, he looked like he was too close to them, or oh, it looked like it was getting a little late and they going past the time, or oh, I don't know, that seemed a little sketchy. Why y'all not saying nothing? Why is there none of these adults, even outside of the parents, none of y'all are saying anything and reporting this? That's terrible on their behalf. Because, and I'm thinking like, would y'all want that to happen to your own kid? But apparently they don't care. They don't care about their own kids. They don't care about the kids on the set. Nobody was there protecting those children. Where are the laws and the ethics and the regulations that somebody should have been there to actually worry about the mental health and the well-being of those children? I blame all the other adults in the room. Like, why was y'all so scared of Dan? I'm trying to understand.
Well, somebody can give off that teddy bear appeal, and on set it's something else. And it's not even just a fear of him in a dominant way for how he looks. It just seemed like they were all just in fear of losing their jobs. Like, I don't want my job. Dee, how did you feel about the fact that I feel like none of them had any say-so or problem with anything until it was affecting them in their job? And then it was just like, oh, and then I that's when I walked away, but it was only when it affected them. They never said or blew a whistle on anything that was going on with these children or Dan's behavior or anybody else's behavior on the set. How did you feel about that, Dee?
I feel like it comes down to the bottom line, and we can see where people's priorities are. Because the thing is, and when I say this is no dismissal of anything, because one thing I understand about myself is that, some people are very paternal and maternal when it comes to kids. They're very like, oh, hey, what's going on? They're very interactive. Me, I realize that, as far as my personality, I'm very kind of chill, very laid back. And sometimes my energy is something that I think children don't necessarily gravitate towards. So, and I've kind of recognize that. But one thing I've made very, very clear is that when it comes to children, it doesn't matter like what the situation is. Like, no one is going to disrespect a child around me. No one is going, like, anything that I just think even remotely off. It's just like, all that, all my kind of, anxiety and things that I have when it comes to that, and not necessarily having the quote unquote instincts, like that goes out the window.
Yeah.
So it's just at some point something has to override. Something has to override somewhere within you to say that like this is not right. And I feel like I there's nothing in me, even at a relatively younger age. I felt like I was very I don't know. I would always feel, and some of that is like personal circumstance, but I also just kind of feel like understanding the impact of what children can go through to really shape them as adults. Like it's even more imperative that you be mindful of what they're surrounded by, what they see, what they, like all aspects of life, because it can influence you, and that will have consequences that will reverberate into the future. Yeah. I think people have to look at it beyond just the moment. Like, what will this mean, for the future, and what will your role be in that? Would you want to be known as the person who just was like, maybe it's okay, or the person who, even if you look crazy, I said like, nah, I'm getting up out of here. Sorry, you don't like it. Too bad.
Exactly. I'm thinking that being in a place like that, if you know something is illegal taking place, I'm like, I wouldn't want my name attached to anything illegal. So I'm like, y'all more afraid of Dan than going to jail. I'm so confused.
When you had Jenny, the writer down there, finally felt like she was, taking a stand, like, I'm going to sue him. Like, her and the ominous phone calls, like, he called me up and if you're doing this, and I was like, this is crazy. But that was just her last straw, and she sued, feeling like, you know what, I'm going to take Dan down. This will never, not the children, because, we wouldn't worry about the children. This will never happen to, a woman or a writer in this space again, just to kind of feel smited at the fact that it really didn't do anything. But let me read this. Dang, this is not a troll type of chat, okay? Don't you come in here. This is not one of those lives. I'm waiting for the BET documentary. What's going to be on there? What exactly is going to happen on the BET documentary, Dane? Thank you so much for the super chat, Dane. I really, really, really appreciate it. But you have a lot of people here who went on to work on several shows, and it wasn't until something happened to them to when they actually left. But I just tried to make sure I wasn't crazy, because a lot of these people want to fall under the umbrella of, well, what was I supposed to do? That wasn't really my job. Or, I was a victim as well. How was I supposed to do something for these children if I was being victimized myself? So just trying to make sure I ain't crazy. Like, why y'all didn't help these children? Very, very curious.
Exactly.
But moving on to pretty much, I guess, who really should have got some help. With there being, quote unquote, no parents around, and they were never there, one particular parent was always around, and it was supposedly Amanda Bynes' dad. I just put the emancipation of Amanda. Now, I was a little taken back with the appearance of Amanda here. We spent a lot of time in the doc on her, and I do know that she is a big part of Dan Schneider's career and just the Nickelodeon community as a whole, but I can't say I felt 100% comfortable with the fact that she is alive and kicking, and if she wanted to, share or give her whatever on this, she could do it herself. Dee, I want to ask you first, were you comfortable with all of the elaboration that was given on Amanda Bynes, and Amanda Bynes was nowhere in sight?
I was not, and I was curious as to. on the one hand, I appreciated the insight, but it's one of those things where I'm like, it's kind of it's I see both ways. Like on the one end, I don't know what her current mental state is,
Yes.
So I don't even know if she would necessarily be in the position to speak on it. And then I worry, and that's kind of the hard part. I worry about where there is the benefit of telling one's own story, but also having to like relive it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what it would mean for her if she did do that. Yes. So I think I take that into consideration as well. And of course, I definitely wish her all the best, and I hope that she is doing well. So it was kind of a, between a rock and a hard place. Like I understood the importance of it, and I did think it was important for her to tell her own story, but I also considering her current circumstances, I don't know what that would mean necessarily.
Yeah, because she struggled for years, and we've seen we've kind of witnessed her downfall kind of firsthand, and seeing her, we grew up with her. We all grew up together, so it was just like, whoa, like what's really going on. And just to see her maybe get to more of a positive state of being in mind. So I wonder if this is picking up any old wounds, or like I just wasn't, because I kept waiting for her to maybe chime in and do a Drake Bell situation. I was like, oh, she's not here. We're just hearing things secondhand from other people. But I have Dan is consistently too close. He was just too good away from Amanda. Following her career, the show to lean on, from the blossoming career to the public paparazzi breakdown. And we go through her living, that child star situation where you are the breadwinner. You are having all of this success. She's a really great comedian. She was amazing. I didn't even realize just how young she was when she started. And I can't think of one child who wanted to be from the 60s on down, who was like, oh, I'm being emancipated, who didn't have a legitimate reason why they didn't want to be emancipated and get away from their mother. Because the only thing I could think of, child, is, Gary Coleman, Drew Barrymore. Y'all know them. I'm thinking about them, and there was always a legitimate reason. But how did you feel about Dan? Why was he so attached to Amanda? And what happened to your chest when you heard what Penelope, where that really came from? Like, what was the feeling on that? Because that was one of my favorite characters on the Amanda show. I was like, what kind of sick person would put that together and think it was funny? How did you feel?
She may have had some trauma and stuff even before she got on the show. Like because of the way that her parents just allowed her to be treated, there had to have been some type of trauma or abuse even before she met Dan. That she was able to attach herself to him in that manner, and that the parents keep allowing this. It had to be something within her household that happened even before that, because when we witnessed her downfall through the media getting older, she was in and out of mental hospitals. They said she was diagnosed with dissociative disorder. Dissociative disorder doesn't just come like that. It happens because of childhood trauma. There was a lot of trauma probably before Nickelodeon, and then that whole thing with Dan, and I'm sure he contributed to it, because he looks like the type of person to spot out a broken and hurt person so that he can manipulate them and exploit them further. And I'm pretty sure he saw that, just like with a lot of the other kids. They see that, and his staff, I'm like, let's go after the broke and hurt people, because I can exploit them more. And that's what resulted into what we have, because there is no way in hell you can come from a great, stable childhood and your parents allow you to be named a character in that manner. And then after she left Nickelodeon, went to the WBCW for another show, he followed her.
Followed her over there.
How is this?
Followed her over there.
There has to be something. And it's like, is she, like, you have to be running from your own parents and your own childhood to which one is more or less toxic.
Yeah.
Like, if he is better than your own childhood home, you're better than your parents, something is wrong. If he's your safe haven from mom and dad, something is wrong.
Definitely. I think he saw a window of opportunity. The way they placed it in the doc with his career, he felt like this would be kind of catapult him into a different arena of getting away from maybe the childlike shows and be taken more serious. And like Amanda was more so his ticket to that. So he attached herself to him in that way. I just was really disgusted by their relationship. Like, I didn't see anything wholesome or
Nope.
It just makes me, all the photos, the scenarios on the Amanda show where he was writing himself into the skits to, be next to her, whether it was in a jacuzzi or just have the kids call him daughter, it was just so much to just go like, what the hell is going on here? I felt like in combination with her trying to get away from those parents, she eventually had to try to get the hell away from Dan. And that, kind of
like trying to find the lesser of two evils. And then now you have nowhere to go. Now she can't go with her parents and she can't go to him. Where is she going?
Yeah, it says a lot about putting pressures on child. It just made me think about Macaulay Culkin, child. Having them, be. I can't think of how it would look if I was depending on my 13-year-old to support and sustain my household and my living. Like, that's a whole lot. That is absolutely a whole lot. And then that adds to more pressure for you to push them into their career and leave them alone longer in situations with somebody like a Dan or whoever else, because her success equates to yours. Like, it is just really, child stars have a really hard, tragic life. It's hard enough to pursue a career as an adult. So if you're a child, I'm sure it's a whole nother monster. Oh, Val, thank you so much. Just because I love some just because. Thank you so much, Val, for the super chat. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. But anything else on Amanda or lack thereof with everything that she went through here in the doc? Because we did spend quite some time on her, and I was really disappointed that she wasn't there to speak on things herself. If she's not and she didn't care to share, I really wish that they would have she would have been an honorable mention, and we would have just maybe moved on past it personally.
I feel like maybe they didn't because of her fragile. Because think about it, if they put her in the documentary and she has documented mental illnesses, that could take away from the credibility of the film. Being that she's had all of these incidents in the public where she's saying things that don't make sense, or she's getting arrested for this and arrested for that. It's like, could you almost like saying the credibility of the documentary of a whole would be taken away from if they put someone there who is mentally unstable. And then maybe if they put her in front of the camera and she starts spewing out certain things, and it's like, I can't tell the real from the reality, what do we make of it?
Yeah,
so I understand why they did it, but I really would have to hear from her. I really would have.
That's making me think of, I can't remember, I just saw a comment up there not too long ago, was it said we couldn't trust anything Orlando Brown says because he's crazy. So long, a lot of these child stars just have been dismissed as crazy, and I really hate
Corey
that people
Feldman.
They all get dismissed when we get stuff trickling down the pipeline. They were telling the truth this whole time. Like this, I really hate that they get just dismissed as that. And I feel like it's the opposite effect with her not being here. And, we don't know what she's going to say, the fragile mental state. And it's just like, at the same time, you don't know what this could be doing, opening up all these old wounds for her mental state to see. Because everybody's talking about this right now. And everybody's going back and digging into things and things she might have done, said. So we don't know if this is opening up old wounds and not. But I of course wanted to hear from her as well. Anything else, D?
No, I was just gonna say that the tank thing was wild. And of course, it was like long. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about a long time before I even heard. I think I was, I don't know, maybe I think I was probably like college before I ever heard what that. I ever knew what that actually was. And I'm pretty sure, and I think I saw someone saying this, but I'm pretty sure I assumed it was taped, TATE, and they probably played around with that fact. And I realized that. And what you guys said about like her parents and then Dan kind of like frying pan into the fire, understanding like that dynamic. And because I remember, I didn't really watch it, but I remember What I Like About You. And I thought, like you said, it was wild that he then continued on. She finally has the opportunity to break away, and he's still, behind the scenes trying to, trying to pull strings.
Got fired because he was doing too much.
Right. And it was one of those things. The sad part is my thought was like, finally someone does something, but then it's like, in a way, it made things worse because then he was given the opportunity to go back. So it was just like,
Lord, just think what could have happened if he didn't go back.
That's what I'm saying.
What's going on?
Lesser of two evils.
Let's see. Just felt like racism, favoritism, and stereotypes. We're making it out the hood with this one. Tokenism, on-air dares, and objecting. It just felt like clearly there was a line drawn with how we were going to treat the white cast members and how we were going to treat the black ones. And Giovonnie down there in the middle, I had to collect myself with them because I forget that a lot of people, when they do reflect on trauma or lack thereof or whatever, sometimes you get through that with laughter. She was laughing a whole lot. I was like, "Girl, ain't nothing funny." I was like, "Why is she laughing so hard? Why is she smiling?" But I was I was so heartbroken to when we got into the black mother and what it did to her relationship with her son, just because she spoke up, and she's like the ramifications of that, and him maybe feeling away, being so young, feeling like I took away his opportunity, that affected our relationship for so long. And I hated that for her, just because she was trying to protect her son, and being one of the few who because Dan now is being very verbal, if anybody felt like anything was wrong, from the grown-ups to the showrunners to the higher ups, we would have fixed it, we would have changed it, we would have stopped. Clearly that was not the case, because of course we have little interludes and messages from Dan here, and he's kind of just stomping on anything that was said here about him, like, oh no, that's not what that was. But clearly with this mother trying to protect her son, in a sense, it just felt like she was blackballed and fired and shunned, and her son was just not really understanding at that age what was going on. But I really commended her for stepping up and just protecting her son, because we have that. And over here we have another mother who was just like, I didn't want to step on no toes, I didn't want to cause a ruckus and mess up my baby's opportunity. But Kay, how did you feel about the way that the black children were treated on all that and everything else?
Racism in the industry is funny, because it's like, oh, you should, like, they said you should be lucky to be here. You were the black chosen out of all these people. We blatantly know you're using this opportunity to get your family out of the hood. So they know these things. Again, Dan is very smart with this. He's looking towards these people that know, he feels that they're going to need me.
Yeah.
They're going to need me because they have something to lose. But with saying that, now that you need me, inherent bias is coming through, because we could see he was gender biases and racial biases.
Yeah.
And he went after people he thought he could exploit in that manner. Like, I'm just going to use my biases and display them freely. And then what are you guys going to do about it? And it's sad that he knew that, hey, we need the money from this job, and you're exploiting them because they need this. You could do pretty much what you want to do with these people because you know that they need you for financial reasons. It just makes it all more sickening to the children and the parents who had to subject their children to that. When children know racism when they see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. D, what I want to know from you is, because I know this whole segment of black children, the black children I think of the most when you say anything Nickelodeon is Kenan and Kel. Kenan most of all, because Kenan has had a lot of success. Kenan has been very successful. And even if they're speaking out, even if Kenan is speaking out to go, give the Vivica A. Fox, that wasn't my experience, but even if it's that, but
have
like
some camaraderie for your companions who went through this type of stuff. Why, I'm wondering why they're not speaking up, because they know they've seen this stuff too, or experienced.
Well, Kel, for one, with me doing my little due diligence on Dan Schneider, Kel I think everybody's, maybe if you are a fan, you're familiar with Kel's struggles in the industry, where you had Kenan just taking off like a rocket. Kel kind of struggled in his career to find his footing. With later on, recently, as you know, 5 or whatever years ago or on up, he has worked on Dan Schneider shows again. And, this is, bringing him money at this point. So maybe that's, a reason not to speak out. But I just do not see, and I'm going to ask you, D, how do you feel? There just being such a separation of, well, these kids were treated like this, but, when it came to Kenan and Kel or whoever else, it was totally different. Do you feel like Kenan, I don't even want to say, what do you feel like that they were treated differently, and that's why they're not speaking out, because this maybe wasn't their experience?
Oh, that's a slippery slope. What I will say, because I don't want to negate the fact that there can be disparities in how people experience people. how some people, experience others, and how. So I don't want to negate that because that is possible, but I also think it can be kind of I think it can be also a way of kind of dissociating, where it's kind of like, well, if I, like, because it's almost like they can say, hypothetically, let's just say something did happen where they can say that maybe, given how things worked out in the end, maybe, and I think that might even go for other people. Some people might feel like, well, it was worth it because of where I am now, possibly ignoring, because it's almost like, okay, well, I got to where I am now, and this is where, like, there are a lot of, and I think there are a lot of people in the industry, especially with the behind the scenes things, where people can tell themselves that, the ends justified the means. So I think one of those things that if they were to kind of crack open that door, then it puts them under the spotlight. And then they have to acknowledge either that there was something that happened that they're not really being honest about, or they have to acknowledge that it's something that did happen and they are working with someone who actively created that environment and continued for many years and affected so many people. So I think that's the big thing. And is that foul? Yes. Yeah. But like I said, for some people, it comes down to what is best for them. And that's unfortunate. But in a way, am I really surprised, given, their careers and what the experience was for them? I think it can easily change depending on what the career trajectory and how things panned out for certain people.
Most definitely. And I can say that there probably may have been a different treatment for them, because Kenan and Kel was bread and butter, especially when you get into not only the show, but things like Good Burger. They were very profitable in comparison to maybe some of the lower level cast members. So there could have definitely been a split down the middle as far as treatment. But I do know that they started off as just, regular all that cast members early on, like everybody else. So if there was maybe a shared experience like this one, it would be nice if somebody said something. But I could understand why they wouldn't say anything. But I think a lot of us like, where's Kenan? Where's Kel? Where's, a lot of people got their start here. Like, I think, was Nick Cannon on? What was he on? Was it what? Like, where?
He had his own show too.
Yeah, I used to watch the Nick Cannon.
He was on all that. He was on all that for a little while, and then he had his own little show called the Nick Cannon Show on Nickelodeon. Yep. He should be saying something too.
Yep. There wasn't even a photo or a mention of a Nick anything in here. I was
you know why? Because Nick Cannon owns Team Nick. That's why.
He does. I forgot about that. I forgot. You know what, Kate? That's why I got you here. Mm-hmm. I forgot about that. I absolutely forgot about that. Makes absolutely total sense. Well, don't be looking for them to say nothing, y'all. Don't be looking for them to say anything. Getting into what we came here to discuss. Now, this upset me. This upset me so much. I wanted to give my daughter her dream. It was just innocent emails at first. This is where we get into the cesspool of predators starting off. This whole thing here, because, we open up with a story, and I was like, oh, who is this? And I'm looking at the little girl. I'm like, oh, I don't recognize her as a cast member. She was a extra, I believe, on the Amanda show. And when the mother opens up and she says, like, oh, I always wanted to be on TV or be a part of Hollywood, but my mother never allowed me to because she was scared of, all the nefarious things happening in Hollywood. So, we of course take our daughter. I just felt like, first of all, I was upset that the daughter wasn't here to speak on her own experience, because clearly she's grown now. Like, if she wanted to be here, she would have did that. But this just felt so much like the mother allowing certain stuff to take place just to say, like, oh, well, because I think it was a PA, like, oh, he can maybe get my baby on a show. So if he wants to talk to her on the downtime, like, it's just simply okay. And of course, this escalated to so much other stuff. But D, how did you feel about MJ and Brandy's story?
First, so I think I definitely agree with the piece about Brandy telling her story and also speaking on the experience, because I would be interested in knowing what she feels about her mother and the role she played in this. Um, and like what like and I understand the difficulty in reliving things, but like what that experience would be like for her and how she sees it now. I think it is important to have that kind of commentary. And I'm glad she's okay, because I was really I kind of started to get this sinking feeling. Like, I hope this isn't a situation where something happened and then she harmed herself or something. Like, you know, sometimes when they refer to people in the past, I was like, but apparently that's not the case, and I'm thankful for that.
I was
But
waiting on that too, D.
yeah, I was like, I hope not. Yeah, so I'm grateful for that. But the thing is, so what's wild to me, and what's interesting is that when I was younger, growing up, just from watching these two shows, and at the time, these both were on WB. But both Smart Guy and Sister had an episode where they talked about the dangers
Yes.
of online communication.
Mhm.
Well, Sister did that, and then Smart. Well, no, I think it was something similar with Smart Guy too, where
Yeah, they did. They did.
Mhm.
It was almost a little Gary Coleman Bicycle Man situation where he ended up somebody's basement trying to play a video
right.
game. I remember that.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Exactly. And so for honestly, and that's why in some ways I do appreciate some of these shows, because of that, we had writers and people who were trying to make children aware or young adults aware of, like, hey, you got to be careful. And there are very precarious situations that happen, and even at that age I was like, oh, had this like sinking feeling like watching that. And so I'm like, for me to know that at that age, and for this adult grown woman to not question, these emails and the communication and of what was she, 9 at that point? I it kind of blew my
Oh no,
mind.
she was. I think she was 11. The child that he eventually actually had
Oh, right.
physical contact with was 9 years old.
But yeah, but just understand, like, what is it? Because I think about how my mom is, because it's like my mom, it was very clear. When anyone would talk to me, like, I remember one situation where we were at the gas station, and I don't know anything about what this man or who he was or what it could be, and he could have just been saying hi or whatever. But we went into the gas station and we were kind of walking through, and he was I remember my mom walked up and opened the door as he was saying stuff to me. And, I kept walking in, and so my mom was walking behind me and the guy was walking behind her. And so I think we went over to the drink station, and then he was like still around. And my mom turned around and was like, "You got something to say to my son?" And she was like, "Oh, no, man, I was just talking to him." And he went away. Now, like I said, I don't know what that was, what it could have been. I don't know. But that lets you know how my mom is. She was just like, when the first communication, she was like, okay, you need to go in the gas station. And then when she thought, she was just like, no, ain't no conversation.
No, absolutely. Did you have like heavy ass intuition as a parent? You can sense for me, my daughter can be somewhere else, and I'll like, I feel like something. So let me go check on my baby. Like you just know, especially if you're in a scenario such as this one. Kay coming to you, what really like took the cake for me was because I was like, oh my God, this man was sending this little girl these things. This may be escalated to something else. She didn't. No, she goes and tells her mom. He, sent me a picture of da 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 da. Well, I didn't want to say anything or call the police because I didn't want to put her through. I was like, I hate when people rationalize stuff like that, because that means you're giving him the opportunity to subject somebody else's child to that same stuff. Kay, how did you feel about this whole situation here in the way that the mother was operating?
She wasn't talking about that child. She didn't care about that girl. She said, I don't want to call the police because they're going to look at me as a parent and say, why was you letting your baby email correspond with this grown-ass man? She didn't want to go to jail. She didn't want the police to look at her. That's why. So you telling me you didn't want to protect your child from a pedophile because you didn't want the blame to go back on you. You didn't want to be accountable for it.
Yep.
Piss poor ass parenting is what that is.
It just made me mad. It was like she was. For me, it wasn't even that. It just felt like she was keeping the window open of, well, even though this is this, he can maybe still get my baby on a show. That's just what it was
Ain't
coming off
ain't
to
no
me
way
as.
in hell. No.
I'm not
I
gonna
wish a
say
grown
anything.
man would try to send me a phone call, an email, a text message, a letter. Gwen and Tony would have been all over that. Ain't no way in hell you gonna get to me before you get through that. No. I'm just like, what?
Absolutely.
And again, these pedophile, these predatory type people, they know what kind of personalities to go
Yeah.
after. Her
Personalities,
mom just
parents,
seemed weak.
all of it.
Just
Just the idea of course he's putting up this persona. Oh, he's, the good Christian PA who's friendly on the set with all of the kids, and for everybody in the moment to go like, oh, Jason, like what, him? He would never, like, this is crazy. But we see the paraphernalia in the home. He has this interaction with another child, a 9-year-old, where why he was in this 9-year-old space to play video games with her or even put his mouth on this baby, I will never freaking understand. Like, but we get caught and we get. D, how did you feel about him only getting 6 years? I don't know too much about the judicial prison system or whatever, but there was those interactions. He has omissions of pretty much guilt in his journals for the things that he's done and the things that he wants to do in the future. He has this interaction with a 9-year-old on top of the things that he sent to Brandy. Why did he just get 6 years?
You know why.
I was gonna say, you know what? Yeah.
I was looking for the teen. I was like, 16? Did I ran it back? I honestly ran it back because I was like, that can't be right. What do you mean he just got 6 years? Like, the lightness of the sentencing here for all people who were charged was just flooring me to no end. Okay, somebody gotta tell me how he got 6 years. Y'all ain't saying nothing.
You know who built the judicial system in the United States of America? Who built it and who did they build it for?
We know who was there, okay?
So that's why the system was built for him and to protect him. That's why.
I just don't understand. Like, you can get caught with a bag of weed for like.
Oh yeah.
It always like boggles my mind for the sentencing system and who gets what for how long. Like, that was just crazy to me.
White male privilege.
It pissed me off, Kay, regardless. Thank you, Nikki, for the $5 super chat. I didn't watch Nickelodeon growing up, but my heart hurts for these people. Hollywood is full of sickos. I don't know why parents put their kids in that business, because they want the success. They want to say, that's my baby. They want the from something to nothing story. They sign up with ambitions of, oh, my baby could be, the next Keenan, the next Ariana Grande, the next, all those people who not saying nothing. All those, if any, and I can even save my slide. If anybody was going to say anything, I just want little Miss Ariana to say something, because the stuff I just want her to say something, because what I want her to say something so bad. Like, when it comes from people here, I'm glad that it's getting this much attention with the people, the cast member in these doc not being so many of the, the more notable names from, that era. If they were to put their stamp on something like this and just go like it, I think it would have, ramifications to really like maybe shift a needle a little bit. Because they're just like, oh, this is just, I was really honestly surprised that with the names here that it just got, this much attention. And I think it only got that because it kind of went viral. These are the things that, normally slip under the radar and like, oh, it's just those, old has-beens trying to get some attention, like one little last minute or whatever. If people didn't blow it up and talk about it, I don't even feel like it would have gotten that much of attention. But I'm really upset that this man got these lousy ass 6 years and it pissed me off. I'm sorry. But like, this man is out on the street living his best life now. Let's just move on, because all of that made me mad, because there's so many of them here. Brian Peck, the dialogue coach in Pickle Boy, he was always around. Get it into the nitty gritty of the Drake Bells and the Brian Peck. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this doc to go this far. I was really, because it starts off really like all about Dan, pretty much. And you're thinking that, oh, we're getting into the worst of Dan Schneider and him progressing throughout his career to be, worse than he was when he started out. Like, he's just a sad man. Then we get into all of the pedo I'm trying to get my that whole little cesspool of sickos that were able to congregate under Nickelodeon's watchful eye. And I just hated the fact that there isn't even I can't even think of a job where there's just so much protocol before you get hired. But there's none for you to work around and underneath children. You just get hired. It didn't seem like these people were getting background checked. It didn't seem like it was just like, oh, you what? Oh, okay, come on down. I was like, these people are working with children. What the hell? Like me as, teaching kindergarten, for me to teach and be around children, child, I got to go through a whole, the FBI, the fingerprint.
I had to go through so many fingerprints from every place in the United States and background check, drug
background
screening,
check on background check.
And I'm like, I work remotely and I got to do that too.
Yes.
And so, where was the screening process for this? Brian Peck been putting his hands on people since the 90s, early 90s.
You see how they're trying to take that clip with Leonardo DiCaprio and run off with it, child. I bet Leno like, oh Lord, like, you know how I don't know what that little clip is. Somebody be like, now how I get in it? Like, what? How? Like they really going down the rabbit hole. This man was able to do what he did and flourish in it for as a damn dialogue coach. This isn't even a. The man, that man, he was a PA. This is a dialogue coach. Another man, I think he was a handler just to move children from one set to the next. And I was like, it was making me mad. D, how did you feel about, I guess, Brian Peck being able to, first of all, the pickle boy, I was like, the whole insinuation of the pickle boy and what he was supposed to represent in the show, and for Dan to write that in there was no way that I felt like Dan was fully aware. I honestly felt like he was fully aware of anything this man had any involvement in, and they were all both reveling in it together. I don't absolve Dan of any like, oh, he did this, but he didn't partake in that. I absolutely believe that he did, because the flock runs together. How did you feel about Dan allowing this man to move into space, the pickle boy aspect, along with him just slowly integrating himself into Drake Bell's life?
I do believe this was the third episode, and it was called, I believe it was titled The Darkest Chapter. And that was an apt title. First of all, the pickles and all that, like when they showed that pickle going through the door
to Ray Romano. Yes.
And then Ray Romano, I was like, I don't know what Ray Romano was aware of, but I would love to know his commentary on that scene now, because whoa.
Y'all had a pedophile running around handing out pickles. All right.
That it was, first of all, there was that. And honestly, the more they kept flashing, which I understood that's why they had to do that, but even the way they just kept flashing back to his face, and I'm like the most, chill, laid back person, but like the way because my like when I get like intensely angry, like there's like this burning sensation in my stomach, and the way, and my blood pressure will kind of like rise. And like as they went on and they said more about the things that were happening, and it was like there were times I had to just kind of like mute and just read the captions, because it was a lot. But again, this is the reality, and the reality has to be told. I just couldn't believe. I'm sorry. Like, all I could think about was Drake's mother.
Oh, shall we go get to her, because y'all know I had to find a picture of her. Because we weren't here. We were not here. Not even getting on the mother. Kay, I didn't want Brian near my son. We follow pretty much the whole, half of that is just him loving acting and just being really innocent and working his way through, oh, I got in this commercial, and I got this part, and I got this part up until, what he felt like was his big break. And him just really being great at what he does, and his father being there to support him until I guess his parents slowly kind of separated and divorced, to where it was just the father as the sole manager. And this is, his first time addressing it, which was just really, really heartbreaking, because I didn't even know, up until this point, nobody knew who the child was. It was just this big mystery of who it happened to, and to know that it was him. I used to love Drake and Josh. Drake was my favorite character on Drake and Josh. I used to absolutely love that show as a kid. But Kate, as a parent, if you have to say, I don't want this person around my son, I'm going to grab my son and get the hell out of there. That's what I'm going to do. If you're not removing this person that I know in the back of my mind, something is off, something is wrong. He's circling my son like a shark for a reason, and I don't want him there, and nobody's doing anything about it. As a parent, I'm going to remove my son, my damn self. Okay, how did you feel about the father and his relationship with Drake up until the point of him creating that wedge between pretty much the entire family for him to pretty much have an opportunity to pounce on him?
I think he would have even tried to remove Drake. I think that's what his plan was. But when that happened, that Brian Peck got in his mom's ear. And so when he seen the dad was like, I'm about to pull back on this, then it's like, okay, but mom is saying, no, we're good. And again, it's who is protecting the child? Who is protecting the child? Because there ain't no way even if y'all are not getting along as parents, if you tell somebody, I don't feel comfortable with this man around my child, there can't be that much hate you have for the other parent that you don't love your child more. And you see what I'm saying? And that's how I feel like Dan was able to get to Amanda because of a break within the parents. Brian was able to get to Drake because of that dysfunction within the parents.
Yeah. But what made me mad was, even though you can see he clearly loves his son and it wasn't just the financial situation, it was almost like, well, if I can't be his manager, even though I know deep down my son needs protection, period, even if it's like, I'm gonna remove myself altogether. Like, it's no way in hell you can live with your mom, she can be the manager, you can be whatever, I'm gonna be there. I'm like, it was just like he completely
they would have had to call the police on me, because I would have been like, oh, that's okay, you live with your mom, what time you go to work tomorrow?
He completely stepped away. I just wanted so badly for somebody to protect him.
Forcibly remove me from Nickelodeon Studios.
Like, and the fact that you communicated this with your ex-wife, and she just kind of, I'm like, was she on something? Like, what? I would just love to know. She's at the bottom here, y'all. This is what she looked like down here. She didn't want to be in the dock. Creating a family wedge.
Yeah, put a face out there.
I was like, what thank you to almost 140 people here in this live. I swear, I was like, where's she at? I was like, where's she at? But when it got to the
husband that bad that you don't listen to his warnings.
Not even before that, when he was with the dad, and it was like, oh, I was doing a concert and wherever, and he followed, and like, this man is following your son. Like, this isn't. He's a dialogue coach. I'm confused.
What do you do that your job is so important that everybody thought you was just that? What do you do in your job? What schooling does that require that everybody thought you was just this big person in Hollywood? He had all these other celebrities, right? What do you do exactly?
A dialogue coach following your son. Okay, I'm going to drive this wedge to where you have distrust for your father, pretty much break his whole heart. The father crying was just like, oh gosh. And, put you in the care of your mother, because clearly she's the simpleton and she's going to relinquish, like, oh, okay, you can drive him to auditions. He can spend all this time with you. Matter of fact, you can have parties for him at your house and he can spend the night there. When he got to going through his experience and just really seeing, I haven't really followed Drake Bell's career, and And I was really, really glad to hear them address his situation with the minor also, because I was like, are they going to, talk about that and just really explain that, which was, really nice to see. Because I was like, don't skip that. But you could clearly see him like physically deteriorating at some time. Like he just started to really, really look different and just look really depleted as a person. I was like, what's
as a parent? How you not know something is off with your child? How you not know something wrong?
D, how did you feel when he not only like him trying to get out, like this is his first time speaking on it publicly. It was just really breaking my heart to see him try to, this is clearly something he's still dealing with. Like he's still very affected by this. How did you feel just witnessing Drake Bell go through his story and in his own words try to say what happened to him? Of course, we have the cuts of, the paperwork from the case just telling us in detail what occurred with him. But how did you feel just witnessing Drake Bell just kind of squirm in his seat?
And I mean, it was heartbreaking, and honestly, and that's kind of what and that's why I say it's such a catch-22, because there is power in sharing your story. There is, something powerful about just like finally getting it out, like, lifting that weight off. But it also, you have to relive it. You have to say what it was, and even the difficult. And I understand, because like I understand, like to even admit that this, like the way he was struggling to say, use certain terminology and say that like this is what it was and this what, it was just like, because you still have to try to make sense of what this was. And it's like, there's a part of you that understands like, no, this wasn't my fault, and that, I didn't deserve this. But it's just like such a mental, like it's what it does to you mentally and emotionally. I honestly don't, that's not something I would wish on anyone. So it was that added to it, because he's not even fully healed from that, and I don't know what it would take for him to be. So
him just expressing like, I just didn't know what to do at that moment, because of course this is somebody you've built up a relationship with and trust, and this person would never. So for him to just wake up to that madness, and I silly me, I thought that that was that, and it didn't happen to him again. But to hear that he experienced it for so long, I was like, oh my goodness. Bree, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Drake's story had me tear up. The fact that his dad went to multiple people about him and was ignored was crazy. I would have got my baby out of there, Bree. I would have got him out of there. Like, first of all, I would have punched Brian Peck in his shit, because why are you around my kid? I need you to move. Why are you following him state to state on his tour? Why are you continuing to pop up and inject yourself and be in his ear? And the way he talked about the way he was, rubbing his arm, like he saw it. He saw it and like snatched it. Get the hell out of here.
The staff was gaslighting him. Oh, that's just how he is. Oh, you must be homophobic because that's just how he is. He's touchy. They was gaslighting the dad into making it think that, oh, so if I do this, then if I say something, they're going to call me this, or they're trying to say that I'm I have something towards this man because of his personality. And so they were like literally. And again, what's wrong with the damn production team?
Hey, nobody's going to gaslight me.
And then that means y'all seen it too.
What was that when we having a function with all that cast and parents and executives alike, and he has a whole shrine dedicated to John Wayne Gacy? Like, excuse me.
That took it somewhere else for me.
Writing letters, like this is somebody he idolized. Like, excuse me, you know what he did to those boys and why he ended up in prison in the first place. This is somebody you're corresponding with and who's comfortable enough with you to send you a self-portrait. But this is somebody we're going to have around the children. Get the hell out of here. Everybody could have went to hell. I'm sorry. Everybody went to hell. Kay, I am going to come with you because I wanted to know how your heart felt when it really took his girlfriend's mother to notice. That's what pissed me off. It took his girlfriend's mom. Because, when you have that intuition, why is he calling you? Why, Kay? Why?
Well, I'm like, as a parent, how do you not know something is wrong with your child? That first time that man touched that boy, an alarm should have went off in her mind when your son got home, because he wasn't. When he said Drake said he was changed, that whole thing like changed him after that. Like he was never the same after that. So you don't know your son, his spirit was broken at that moment, and you didn't see it. But a stranger took one look at your son in the situation and assessed it and was like, if I see something here ain't right, if you're not gonna talk to me, let's get a therapist on the line.
When he lied about it and said, "Oh, it's nothing. That's just how he is. He's just calling so much." She still went behind his back to the mother and the dad. He's not saying anything, but he needs to see somebody, and we need to do something. Something happened. I don't know what it is, but something. I was like, the fact that it took a stranger. It just showed me like just how disconnected they were from their son.
And if she saw that in that little span of time, you mean to tell me the production team ain't say nothing when they should have known something was off? Y'all knew this man. Y'all knew how he behaved around this man. What the tension was there. The production team ain't saying nothing. Mom ain't saying nothing. But this lady who just met him and spent this time with him can see it. What's wrong with everybody?
I don't know who the hell Brian Peck is. He's clearly more than what he appears, because there's no reason why he should have had as much protection as he has had for so long, why he was able to move, because you see the people here go like, oh, he was sure spending a whole lot of time with Drake Bell, and he would be in the office, and he was always like, you guys, you
saw it and said nothing. What kind of voodoo magic happens when y'all walk through the door of Nickelodeon Studios that the protection of children goes out the window?
What hurt me, D and K, was when the dad was like, I knew it was him. I knew he was going to do something. I'm so glad we got you out of there. I'm glad it's not my kid. I'm glad it wasn't you. I'm glad it wasn't my kid. It was your kid. And the fact that he was like, I didn't have the heart to tell him that it was me. I didn't want to do that to my dad. Like it was. And if somebody would have stepped in, if like it could have not been your kid, and it was because we weren't doing our due diligence as parents. And like the fact that broke his heart, and you clearly see that they're both still dealing with the impact of this stuff right now. And it's just like, I couldn't take the fact that it was my son. Like, we don't want it to be nobody's son. We don't want it to be anybody's kid. Like, protect your damn kids. Oh,
failed them. Everybody failed the children. Everybody was failing the children left and right. And I don't understand how they could have been working on that set and not stop. If you even just not even in your mindset, I wasn't gonna say nothing. When the report got filed and they said John Doe on it, it should have clicked in everybody's head who it was. They knew, so y'all just acted ignorant. Oh, we didn't know it was him.
They knew it was gay.
Right there.
D. So we get convicted, right? We have Drake Bell, anonymously pretty much testify. We register as an offender, and we get a measly 16 months. On top of that, we get 44 letters of support of Brian Peck. Not from anybody, though. People in the industry, like Mr. Ryder here, Mr. Pick here, James Marston. Like, what? And this is just a few of the 44. What came in over your spirit when you saw what these people were saying, almost painting the picture of, if he did anything, he had to be forced. He I think this lady Kimmy down here said, he refrained. He fought it with all his might. Like, this kid must have did something too, or this must have been consensual, or it must have been something, because Brian would never. He was tempted by this 14, 15-year-old boy. D, how did you feel about that, about these letters here, and also our man's here getting 16 raggedy months?
Again, the system is gonna system, and I know that, and that is not to simplify the issue, but that's really what it comes down to. The system is going to be the system. So it's really not. It shouldn't be shocking. It should be shocking, but it's kind of not. And it's kind of sad that we have become so desensitized to injustice that it's just kind of like, oh, well, of course, that's what happens. It's more shocking when it's the opposite. as far as the letters, the only thing that was surprising were the people that they showed. But then again, I don't know if you all are familiar with Roman Polanski, but if you really want to destroy any appreciation you might have had for certain actors or actresses, just look at everybody who signed letters of support for him.
Yeah.
Right? That's
this pissed me off, but when I looked at who was writing a letter, when they were, and the connection that Brian Peck may have had with these people, I was like, okay, these are definitely victims.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's what came to mind, especially the two Boy Meets World stars. I said he had to have done the same thing to them.
Like, I'm like, James Martin, I'm looking at them like their age. I'm like, when they, at whatever time they maybe experienced him, like these were children. They're not too much older than, I was like, these have to be, not minus these grown ass adults here. Either, I'm like, he is connected somehow. These are definitely victims, and everybody else who's writing a letter, y'all some conspirators who he might have dirt on you. Somebody might have, first of all, you're going to write this letter or we going to add you to the docket. It just all felt like some really big conspiracy, because there is no way in hell that. And then I seen a couple of people, I think, I can't remember her name, but the woman who played Alan's thick wife on Growing Pains, she said that she wrote her letter, but she was under the impression that, she was writing it for something else. Like, she didn't know I guess, how far it went with what he did to the victim when she was writing it. She was under the impression that she was writing it for something. I was like, shut up. Shut up. Shut all the way up. I'm not even going to get into the 16 months, Kay, because you said I know why they got 16 months, though. But, like, I'm going to leave it alone. How did you feel about him getting those 16 months, registering there is no type of mystery about what his agenda is, and pretty much Brian Peck getting out after that and going on to live the sweet life? What he would, like, not just work on another show or just period, like, he's working around children again, but it's just for Disney.
Who let him around these little boys again? Where is the pool? There got to be, y'all seen the skulls back in the day with Paul Walker? It got to be some kind of organization that's keep hiring and putting these people, because there is no way in hell that he should have been able to go and work on another set with two more boys. There has to be an organization working behind the scenes, that he has this network of celebrities and people, that somebody that is a registered sex offender can somehow maneuver their way to the sweet life of Zach and Cody on Disney. I'm so confused. It has to be somebody. It's got to be a Skulls for real at this point.
D.
Because ain't no dialogue coach that much needed that y'all need to him. Y'all don't need that to create a show.
That's what's killing me. Like, he helping out so much. He's just, he the best in the business apparently as a dialogue coach, to where we're gonna bypass his history of this to hire him on the other show. And then once we're find out and it's blown up, we're gonna lie and say, we weren't aware. D, anything on Brian Peck still being out at this moment to live his best life?
So all I'm gonna say is this. I don't know if anyone, I love my references, but if anyone has seen Notes on a Scandal, I'll just say that it entails a relationship an illicit relationship that comes about in a junior high school. And when it is suddenly revealed, because it's a husband having to realize that his wife has done something really inappropriate with another student. And there's a point where he's like confronting her and he's saying, like, if you were going to destroy our marriage and destroy everything, why not do it for like a 20-year-old? Why not find somebody down the street? Like, you had so many options. And she's like, but he's like, but this is what you chose to do. And she has the nerve to say, well, he's 15 years old. He's not some innocent. And he says, of course he's innocent. He's effing 15. Are you insane? And it's kind of like, and I love that scene because of his reaction to it, but it's kind of the same thing. It's just like, how do you in your mind rationalize that anyone at that age, in any sense of the word, how do you in your mind say that surely, a child must have done something, surely it was this, oh, but this? How do you come with any rationalization in your mind to justify that? And I can't. Even, and it has to be skulls. Like, you have to have, like, I don't know, somebody must have like lists, information, addresses. We got like guns point.
The skull's got to be real, Kay.
Right. Like, we got to write.
He knows where all the bodies are buried.
Right.
This is crazy. Him just going off to live his life, and then just to hear Drake Bell say, like, I had, such and such on my side of the courtroom, but it was so many people there in support of him, and I heard these letters, and I will never forget their faces. I was so surprised to see who was there in support of him. Like, it just really affected him just to see that, and just to know that he went through all of that and then just went on to do the Drake and Josh situation and have to give off this kid, friendly, act like everything is okay, when you're having pretty much the worst experience you can ever have as a child in your life. Like,
and that's what creates dissociative disorders. He had to disassociate himself from that trauma. And what kind of person does that make you when you have to put a smile on your face and disassociate the fact that somebody is brutally abusing you and the adults around you didn't protect you, and this man has all this celebrity power?
What pissed me off, because he still speaks highly of Dan Schneider, and he goes like, because nobody knew it was him, but Dan Schneider just so happened to call him up and go, I've been seeing such and such on the such and such. I want to think, well, is this you? Like, it's like, yeah. And, he sends his, condolences. And if there's anything, I'm like, I just feel like that was such a gaslighting situation. And I not that I want him to have malice towards anybody else, but I was like, Dan, get the hell out of my face. get the hell out of my face. Oh, let me see. I got this super chat. Get this super chat up here from Kay. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Those letters had me effed up. Absolutely. All of us. Cause why? Just cause why? But this is just, a case or something that we have seen. You could just think about all of the higher ups that are, because the fact that there is just this much push for somebody who is a dialogue coach, for everybody else who is in a real place of power, you could just imagine who is still like the Roman Polanskis of the world, who are just here in support of them regardless of the sick things that they are doing. Oh, let's move on. But yeah, there's more where that came from. There is so much more where they came from. If a Dan Schneider and these three men can exist in that same little realm of all that Zoe one-on-ones, if all of this can exist, it's so much more where they came from. It's like, are y'all strategically hiring these people, or what's happening?
Do they not have a special victims unit in Florida, or where the Nickelodeon studios are? How are these people like, oh, that seems I can be a pedophile, and Nickelodeon seems like a wonderful place for me to apply, put my application in, they'll hire me. Like, how y'all know y'all can get in?
They know this man on the end. He already had a record of it, and he got hired. Like, Dee, do you feel like that there is we are just scratching the surface of who might be working at Nickelodeon? Because these are just the people who are under Dan Schneider-esque Productions.
Because clearly they know that they can go work there with a record. Because how do y'all know this?
Dee?
So I don't know who it was who said this, and I feel like probably maybe even more than multiple people have said this, but I already heard that this is the year of exposure. And
Cat Williams said this the year of the truth.
Yeah,
you gotta tell him no. Dee gonna want to party, and you gotta tell him no. You gotta tell Dan no. You have to tell him no. Go ahead, Dee. I'm sorry.
That's I was saying just the way it, like, yeah, we're just scratching the surface. Like, it's like Oh, it's like if you've ever seen the surface of an iceberg and then you see just how much is lying beneath the surface. It's the same thing. It's never just as simple as black and white. Oh, it was just these three, please. Like there's a whole pipeline that we're not acknowledging here.
Yeah, but with it being more where that came from, it's just like everything we've seen happen, any suit, whether it was Dan or whether it was Brian Peck or whomever was happening, all these scandals around Nickelodeon that I never knew about. I had never heard or seen a mention of these things prior to this doc. Like, as far as the stuff we knew, I think we knew now, like, and really we're just really coming into the now of Dan's weird obsession with the focus on the feed and these little sexual innuendos in these shows, and but all of the history of the other stuff, I'm like, we weren't aware of any of this, and you just see them continuing to climb this ladder of success, especially when it comes to Dan, and create more and more shows. And meanwhile, we're still being a tyrant, still getting massages, still being really suggestive on the set, being biased with the women, still just living his best life, living his best life. And it's just this is, I couldn't believe that. I guess I'm not really privy to the stock of, I guess, kids TV. And it's just like, as long as he's making these shows, we don't give a damn what he does. What? I didn't know it was going to take so long for somebody to step in. Nobody ever stepped in. Nobody ever did anything. Nobody ever put a connection of all these things are happening around Dan Schneider, shows, characters there, the children who are working on these shows, the people who are working, because all of these men were in different little spaces. This is a PA. It's like people are, now of course he's going on record. I'm not in charge of hiring. I didn't put any of these people into place. He's just like, I ain't got nothing to do with none of that. That's them over there. Dan ain't do nothing. Oh, really? Really? But with these shows going on and him steady, like, hitting this ladder of success, his obsession and what he indulges in is just continuing to get worse all through the years. Like, getting back to Ariana Grande and all the other. This is maybe around the time that I kind of fell off of Nickelodeon. I didn't really watch these shows, all of the iCarlys and Zoe 101s and Sam and Cat. So I didn't watch these things. This was on TV. This was on TV.
They stepped into the age of the internet, and Dan was like, "Got you. I can do it."
How is the sexualization of these mostly girls? Because he ain't do a lot of these little innuendos to the boys. It was a lot of these things being put onto the girls. Having them be in these little skimpy type of bikinis or riding in to put them in situations where they were constantly in the pool. Once again with these pickles, it's pickles and all of these suggestive things. Like the things that I saw Ariana, I was like, what? This was on TV? What happened?
Censorship just, fell when the age of the internet came up and more things started to be allowed on TV. And Dan was like, bet.
No, okay. Is it not a reverse? I thought as we went on, things got more and more censored to where things weren't allowed. But it seemed like under the umbrella of, oh, this is funny, this is kids television, we can just do whatever. What else? What happened?
I'll just say this: the male gaze is a very powerful thing, and if you have unchecked power, so to speak, and you can basically have people writing whatever, shooting however, and crafting these stories and these narratives however, then we can play into every thought, every idea, every fantasy, all of it. And we can just let that play out. And because, of course, most of the people watching this are children, they're not going to, pay attention. The adults don't want to watch this stuff. So who's really going to? And can just be an insider joke amongst all of us. So we can kind of play out the fantasy. We can let this be what it is, and just continue to enjoy it. Ha ha ha! We're all in on it.
this felt like some sick fantasy to have a room full of a light company with Dan. Like, look what I snuck in there. Like this just, it felt so sick and perverse to go, oh, like, look what I got, this little girl to do, or this, oh, look, I got that in there. The PA, FCC, what nobody said. It's just like somebody, what about, people like the FCC and people over this network? Somebody have to approve this stuff to go on TV in the first place. Dan don't, send it down the pipeline to get.
Because one of them in the schools too, and they let it pass. I'm convinced. I gotta make sense of it.
Ooh.
There is so much blame to be had on Dan, but it's like this is everybody. This is everybody. I just couldn't believe like that one shot of Ariana, not the potato, the one where she's the water and she's basically moan. I was like, what is happening? It was making me mad. I was so disgusted. There's
what? It's like, how could nobody on the production set say pause? What are y'all? I guarantee you, if you sat down with everybody on those production sets, something was wrong with all of them in their childhood. They probably all have some type of anxiety, depression, childhood trauma, because you can't take somebody who is mentally well and put them in that environment. Everybody on that set, something's got to be wrong with all of them mentally and emotionally, because you cannot be well and let that kind of stuff happen.
Well, Dan's excuse at this moment is that he put these things here because children found it funny. Not for his own sick, pleasure. I wrote these things and I put some of these things. Would I do it today? No, I would. I'm embarrassed. Like some of those things I shouldn't have done. I went too far. But anything I put here, it was for the enjoyment of children. They thought these things were funny, so I put what I thought they would enjoy. Like,
he didn't ask them if they knew it was funny or not, because they said they was uncomfortable. So how you know, Dan?
No, he put this there for the audience, like children, audience, like the who's watching, like these children, they got it. They thought it was funny. Like just because we didn't get it as adults and looking at, he's like, yeah, looking at that stuff now, I can understand why, with your adult eye, it would look suspicious. But children, they thought my shows and what was taking place, even this innuendo stuff, was hilarious. And I just kept doing it for that reason. There was no malice. I wasn't getting any type of sick sexual pleasure out of, having these children do this.
I don't know, Dan, because, he's one of them people that, because Nick Cannon used to be one of those people that was like crowd control. So if people really thought it was funny, then why you need somebody running through the audience to tell people to laugh and to clap and cheer and stand up and stuff?
This is just really, really, really sick. And I'm glad that I was nowhere to witness this in real time, because I wouldn't think this was funny as a kid. I'm like, this isn't funny. Nothing about this is funny. The only thing that blew up his spot was this book. People have been talking about Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon, especially here on this YouTube space, for years. People have been talking about the little skits and, oh, that wasn't okay. Oh, this looks a bit off, forever. The only thing that like pulled the level crunk was this book. And she didn't even mention his name in this book. She just insinuated that there was this higher up that, was making me uncomfortable, and he was overbearing and I was in fear and da-da-da-da-da. And, we don't even talk about her mother. Everybody's parents is like clearly trash. A lot of
clearly, and she was another perfect example. Her mom suffered from bipolar, and her mom was very verbally abusive towards her. And, Dan see that and be like, there go another one. I got another one.
Just the sense of this is what it took, because even now, because my nephew, he loves Henry Danger. I was like, what the hell, what is this? I'm not watching. I'm like, oh, this is annoying. But I didn't even know that this was a Dan Schneider show. Dan Schneider is still very much so in effect. D, how did you feel that this was the moment to go, oh, you know what, we might need to remove Dan Schneider from the network?
I guess the external noise became so loud, quote unquote, that they figured, hey, let's do something before anyone decides to hold us liable and force our hand. To me, it was kind of one of those things where it's kind of like one of those things that corporations, companies, whatever will do to, at least for the sake of PR, to say like, oh, look what we did the right thing, so on and so forth. But was it really because he was this horrible person and he created this environment, he did all these things for years? I don't think so.
Well, Kay, how do you feel at the fact that Dan is now saying, if there was anything that is offensive in anything that I ever did involving children and, lack thereof, just cut those parts out. Cut those parts out. We're going to just act like, we're going to be politically correct now and just edit those scenes out and, move on and be positive at this point.
Dan's still trying to work the system. Boy, we see you. He's still trying to play the game and work the system. So it's too late. It's too late.
Like,
we see you.
Dan interview, for lack of a better word, called all of this just a bold-faced lie.
Of course.
This is just all
damage control. It's too late. We see you.
It's just, but a lot of these things now are not still, only on TV, but they are still there are what are those when you bring them back in
the syndication?
Not even syndication. Like a lot of these, like iCarly, they've been renewed, and you have the cast members coming back now. They're older and they may be parents now, and but the shows are still very much so in effect. They're brand new shows, but just it's like iCarly now or something like that. Like his shows are still in production and still thriving, just with older the people I guess he still had a decent relationship with. His shows are still on TV. Like I would think that they would remove everything. Like do you think that the solution is to remove the all that's of the world, the Zoe 101s, the iCarlys, the King? Like, is the solution to remove that? Because isn't he still making a profit as long as this stuff is still in effect, as well as Nickelodeon?
I said reboots. Yes, a lot of his shows have been.
That's what it is. Reboot.
On Paramount Plus. I don't know if that's the answer, because some of them, especially the shows that are in syndication, people are still getting. If the people who are on the shows are still getting money from them, I would say keep them on. But if they ain't getting nothing from them, and if he's the only one making money, then they can pull them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with what I've heard, with the writer strikes and the guild and everything that we've been through in like the past 2 years, they're not getting like anything from these syndicated shows. It's like, hell, this isn't the same residuals of yesteryear. We ain't getting nothing from this. Like, it's just syndicated. That's it. You're not getting the money that you used to get when it was, syndicated on regular, cable television or whatever. It's different when it's on a streaming service. So I really don't even feel like they're getting anything. D, how did you feel about just pretty much life after all that, and just all the shows, and how the now adults are really dealing with their experience?
I think it is. I empathize because, of course, on my this is not me plugging or anything, but like one thing with my channel that I had to do was, with some of these reviews, I've been able to kind of like link back to certain memories with certain family members and certain experiences I've had throughout my childhood growing up. And sometimes for me, that's a very, because it was such a good time, it was a very positive time, but it's a cathartic thing for me to be able to link some of these films to very special memories, to very special people who unfortunately aren't here anymore. And so I think it's important to be able to look back and acknowledge, and because if I'm being honest, my traumatic experience was more so the fact that I had such a tight-knit family that was very protective of me, very mindful of where I went and the type of people I was around. And so the disruption has been, the fact that, I lost a lot of those people sooner than I expected. And so I have to kind of, go through life, without that same sense of protection. Although, of course, I'm an adult, but just, not having that anymore. And so I think it's always important to recognize the things we've experienced. And I say this as somebody who's been in therapy for years, and I've not even come close to experiencing anything that these children have experienced. So I think it's important, and I hope that they continue to acknowledge their experiences, and hopefully it can be and of course, with the exposure piece as well, hopefully that this will continue to set the stage for other people to tell their stories as well. Because, like silence helps no one. As we've seen, it's a recurring theme of people just sitting by and being quiet and, not, and it's just no, be open, share it, and continue to push that forward. And I hope that it continues to be a positive experience for them. I loved what and I understand the conflicts and the frustrations with that, but what Drake's father said to him when he was just like, hopefully, and maybe things will get better. And he was like, well, I'm not, sometimes it's hard to tell, or sometimes it's hard to believe. And he was like, well, just keep believing it, and just get, like it was what he, like him still not being unsure. And sometimes that's the reality too. You still have scars that, that are difficult to heal and move on from.
D, with that and better, like when we, talked about the child stars of yesteryear, from your Shirley Temples to your Corey Feldmans to your Amanda Bynes to Orlando to, current day, because I'm sure, and I noticed like now, I don't think we see as many child stars as we used to, back in the day. It's just really not a thing. It's kind of a thing of yesteryear to see like, oh, you have things like a Marseille Martin type, but it's just like, those are that one, like it's really, and I can't really even say I'm mad at it at this point, because if it was that way back then and it's still that now to current day, I don't see anybody who would be running to sign their kid up for this. Of course, there's always going to be some. It's always going to be that. But like I said, with life after all of that being hard as hell for, them still dealing with the effects and ramifications, you heard them speak on, some spoke on, drugs, therapy, alcohol abuse, just they've, been through it, but that's just for some. We have our other, Keenans and Arianas and I can't remember her name down there, the young lady from iCarly, who are still very much so thriving. Kay, do you think that more of them are going to start speaking out, and not just the ones who are not as active anymore, more of the higher ups? You think anybody, come on, Ariana girl, I'm just waiting on you, just please, do you think anybody is going to say anything at all?
I feel like we're going to start hearing some more people speak up, but not the ones that we want to hear. Not the ones that we think are going to speak up. The ones that we're like, waiting for her to say something. I think they're going to stay silent, but I think it's probably going to be some other people that's been in the shadows that we ain't seen their faces in a while that are going to come to the light.
I hope so. And, anytime anybody from Disney want to pop out, please just pop out, because I know we would love to, because we just know, like, there's Nickelodeon and then there's Disney. Like, there's so much deception. It's the Disney of deception.
Jed Jackson, that still ain't sat right with me. It still ain't sat right with me.
Oh, don't bring up Lee Thompson.
Still something about that ain't right.
Oh man, that was all you bringing up stuff, girl. That broke my heart.
The fact that Disney Channel don't have his show on the Disney Plus app, some ain't right.
Oh, famous Jake Jackson was my stuff, and he, just so talented, so freaking handsome. It's like, oh, he's gonna grow and be this really great actor, and it's just like, what he did, what? Just getting into those child stars and why are they doing this? It's just there's absolutely something there, and if we're getting closer to getting those things out in the open, so hopefully this stuff does not happen anymore, I'm all the way here for that. But pretty much ending off on the man of the hour in this great divide here. You have seen people coming out, whether it's parents or child stars alike, to just kind of choose a side. And it's almost like they're trying to, like, we didn't say nothing then. We're still good, right? If you ever want to put me in anything else, or you ever want to, recommend me, I'm still here. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't blew no whistles. I don't got nothing to do with the people over there. I love you for every opportunity. Like, it kind of diminishes their experience, that they're speaking on, that they're having here, just to kind of say, like, oh, I'm still good with him. He ain't never do that to my son. Like, when it was the black mama up here, I was like, girl, Now you know when stuff happened outside, and you'd be like, "What was they black?
And she
They weren't
actually
black, right?"
she shouldn't even said nothing with all the stuff he got going on with his issues
Right?
with the judicial system. She should have just be kept quiet. Sometimes you just need to just not say things.
You know, you'd be like, "Sister." But Dan, in so many words, is chalking everything up to, I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry that all of that happened. It's the equivalent of, I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry. I would never do that again today. And I'm sorry for anybody who I've hurt. And, I like bad Dan. I'm like, what? He's making it feel like such a small thing. D, how do you feel about people choosing sides at this point? And do you feel like that they should in the first place? I don't think any of this should be happening because people online, I think Josh from Drake and Josh, he's been having his little say so. Like, how do you feel about that, D?
I feel like there's, maybe, regardless of how people feel, I just feel like it's, I don't understand what there is to defend here. And I'm not sure what it comes down to for certain people. And it's probably a lot of the factors we've mentioned, but what are we divided about exactly? That's where the confusion comes in for me. Like, what are we talking about here?
Okay.
This man, he act like we don't realize that he in the entertainment industry. Why you get in this man interview and go acting like you on set and start doing all this acting and stuff? And when not a sincere statement came out of his mouth, like he auditioning for the next TV show. No, your acting is not that great. No, sir.
It ain't. I feel like he's because first I was like, who was that? Like he's slim down and grew this lumberjack beard. I was like, Dan, get you. I don't know if he got some surgery or some Ozempic.
No, he done went got some Ozempic, and now he think he done trying to present himself in a new package. Sir, goodbye. Have a seat. Have 2 seats.
TP, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Mental health is very important, but people rarely speak on social health. They go hand in hand. It is hard to fix oneself when most triggers come from one circle, and kids have little control of it. Absolutely, TP. No.
That is something wrong with all the adults on set.
Thank you so much, TP. Absolutely, none of the children here are at fault. Like, I don't know what the hell Dan talking about. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Like we saw it. We saw it in the way he, gaslit those 2 writers, and like it was just, I don't know, that never happened. Men split salaries all the time. That's just a part of the business. There's that, those are the higher ups to blame. I have no control over that. Even if that's the case, so many other things that you did have control over, like yourself, you was out here being ridiculously sick. So I don't want to hear anything that Dan has to say.
You mean to tell me y'all didn't have a budget to hire a mental health professional, counselor, therapist, a spiritual healer, somebody on set for those children to go to? Somebody with some damn sense that's regulated under ethics codes to report this foolishness.
Not even that. I thought on shows with children, you had to have like not so much a wrangler there, but I don't know what that person is who makes sure it's like, okay, we're abiding by the child labor laws. All right, it's getting to be about
somebody should have been there to especially a mandated reporter of some sort in some arena should have been there. It's not making any sense.
There was absolutely nobody there. Like, y'all, this was a lot, and I appreciate y'all for rocking with me for 2 hours. Like, we covered every single thing that was in this doc, and everybody in the chat, the super chats, you guys have been absolutely amazing. D, anything else to share on this doc or Dan Schneider or, the cast members before we get ready to wrap it up and get out of here?
Yeah. So this isn't to knock anybody, because obviously circumstances were out of her control. But one thing I will say about Ariana Grande, because I didn't watch Sam and Cat. I didn't even really know anything about her. A lot of the new generation kind of Disney Channel stars, I wasn't familiar with them. I kind of found out about them just as I learned more, social media and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that always threw me about Ariana Grande was her marketing, and I couldn't get past why it always threw me. Because obviously I'm older, so I mean it's not really my demographic.
The childlike, that
Yeah,
kind of marketing.
it's the nymphette and the Lolita. Like that is an
Yes.
actual. And so once I realized that was I was like, so when did this start, and why is this still like the package that's being presented? So my thing is, if she ever does speak out, we're gonna have to unpack all that. But I don't know if she'll ever be ready for that. But I do think that's something I always noticed even back then. I was just like, this is kind of odd. And so now adding this as a bigger piece of the puzzle, I'm like, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Not even that, D, but before I come to UK, I don't like to speak on anybody's mental state or their physical appearance. Or Ariana doesn't look well to me personally. She does not look well. And just watching her career in just recent times of just her physical appearance, it's resembling Drake Bell's a little bit to me, like where you're just starting to deplete and kind of diminish in appearance. And I just want somebody to check on her. That's all I'm gonna say. I just want somebody to check on her. It's not even just so much about her being, on the thinner side, because she has a smaller frame. She's always had that. It's just her spirit. Something just, it feels off to me personally. But I'm leaving where I say that's my personal feelings. But Kay, anything else on this doc or Dan Schneider, or just the children as a whole, adults now as a whole?
I hope that the children on the show feel some kind of vindication or justice to know that their experiences were real, that their experiences are now validated because they were gaslit a lot. They were probably made to think that it was just them and that it was isolated incidents. So I hope that they now feel that what happened to them was wrong and that they should have been protected. And there needs to be some type of mental health checks and screenings before these people get to work around children, because you can't be yourself a broken person and then get around somebody else that is being targeted and you not protect them. Like there's a breakdown in the system that these children should be protected. But I hope the ones from these shows and these networks feel some type of validation for their own painful experiences.
Yeah. Oh, great. So great. This was really, really good. You guys have been amazing and absolutely did what needed to be done, because y'all, I couldn't do it alone. I wouldn't do it. I wasn't doing it alone. This was a lot, but this was great, and I feel like we got through it the best way that we could, and you guys in the chat have been great. But D, I am going to give you the screen for a minute, and you could just tell the people where they can find you and what to expect over there on the D Movieman channel. Go ahead, D.
All right. Well, that was a lot, but thank you all for joining us. This is D Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. If you've heard that before, or if you haven't heard that before, that is the tagline for my channel. That is what I do. I love discussing films. I love discussing, the occasional television show. Just finally getting back into trailer reactions. I like breaking down, the background, the behind the scenes of all of that. Most recently, I've recently covered the reality competition series, The Traitors, which was really entertaining. I also dropped my review for the American Society of Magical Negroes, and that was an experience in and of itself. I also just recorded my ranking of all the Sundance films I saw back in January. And I will be knocking out a trailer reaction for Beetlejuice, which of course will be, they just dropped a teaser trailer for that. And yeah, I am just here to offer my opinions, offer commentary through the lens of someone whose life has been shaped by movies and TV shows and this beautiful thing called cinema. And I just hope that you guys will feel open to join me, to get in the chat and, chat, do all the things. I would love to have you. Absolutely.
Hello again, it's your girl Kay Bly. Again, thank you, Struggle, for letting me be here to talk about this show that I watched and was impacted by. My YouTube channel is The Fifth Wall. Please subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Right now, we're going into talking about the Marvel shows. X-Men 97 just came out. We're talking about the horror aspect, horror and hooch. You know, that's my horror podcast. We are going to be talking about the Walking Dead spinoffs, especially the ones who live. So if you're interested in comic books and horror stuff, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We are also on TikTok at the Horror and Hooch, and our Facebook group, Horror and Hooch, for all the horror fans out there. Horror, comic books, superheroes, the fifth wall. Follow us, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All things nerdy.
Not all things nerdy, Kay.
All things nerdy.
We love nerdy stuff. Y'all, I'm gonna go through my little stuff real fast because I need y'all to go there and watch stuff. Y'all know I be working hard. I be working so hard out here sweating for these YouTube streets. Y'all get over there and support your girl's latest drops. Y'all, when I told you they gave me hell uploading this prison song video, go watch it.
I said, ooh, who asked for that one? You took it way back.
Y'all, please go and watch it. Like, I have not, and I was gonna work hard. Bree, I know you in the chat. Bree purchased that one. I was like, I can't fail, Bree. I gotta get this video up, none copyrighted and free. I don't care what I have to do. Y'all, please go and check that out for me and support that one. It's also like a really good video. I think I did good on that. Go support your girl. Of course, I dropped my situation for the Lost Boys, giving y'all, some old ass horror. Go over there and check it out. It's a lot. I really find a job in person horror, and I just noticed we got Master here. Master here. From 2022, go and check that out, as well as Queen of the Dam. Always a good time here. Always struggling, but always giving y'all product. Okay, go and absolutely support your girl. Coming up on the channel for me is Bend It Like Beckham. That's the next review to drop, as well as the Book of Eli. So be on the lookout for those next week. But let me go and take this out. You guys have been great. Anything else you guys want to share, or what your people to look for before we get on up out of here? Please go and support them on their platforms. Y'all be over. It was 100 of y'all asses in here. I don't want to start cursing because we got all the way to the end. I've been doing real good. It's been a lot of y'all in here. I know you guys show love here. Remember to drop down and show us some love in the chat. Let us know what you thought about our commentary. Also, go over to their channels, support them, watch their things, support them on all platforms. Hit the likes and subscribe to their channel. We work hard out here, and it's hot. This light is hot. This ain't decoration. It's hot. But okay.
Got the fan on and stuff. I got these lights here. I got this light.
You're trying to accommodate people and not cut your fan on because like it's background noise. You be trying to be good out here. Over here smelter. It feel like church. Okay. Black church. But thank you guys so much. We will definitely see you guys for the next recap. Of course, DK, you guys are more than welcome to come by again if you would like to.
Anytime.
All right, y'all. Good night, everybody.